So this woman's truth is a truth that I can understand. Um, you know, how is it? How is it? I mean, it was just important for me to be honest. That's all I ever say because that's really all that ever matters. Because John, Dave, this woman is speaking on behalf of so many women in and out of the African American community. And the best way that we can represent them is just by speaking truthfully.
I have to give you kudos. I know that's a story for a lot of young people out here. So shout out to all the single moms that are doing it and working. And man, that just touched my heart right there. So Isaiah and who had the flyest hair? Was it the fro or was it the curl? Was there hair battles on set?
Let me tell you. First of all, that wasn't his hair. That was my actual hair.
Oh.
Out.
So he was
wow, you sounding real funny right now. I feel
like I went by default.
We gonna do the real thing with brothers now? We gonna do that with the sisters.
I went by default. That was my hair.
So you went by default.
He doesn't win by default. First of all, my hairpiece has a name. Her name is Sheila. I don't think that your hair has a name. And he cut it. He cut his hair after we shot.
I did.
Yeah, I'm tell everything now.
It's gonna be back. It's gonna be back. It's going back.
I see you with the twist. Now, for my Latinos over there, I definitely can't forget them. Felipe, the cartel lifestyle is one that is touched and not touched. You have to handle that, especially with the Latin community, with a lot of sensitivity, because you can offend people, and then you can remind people of something they don't want to know. How did you approach that, and were you scared to not get a phone call and say you're not doing it right? But you did an amazing job, but I'm just saying. That would be in the back of my mind if I was playing Griselda Blanco. I'd be like, I don't know.
Well, that voice it was definitely in there. The little bit of voice of insecurity, especially being Portuguese, coming into this opportunity. But I think what is beautiful about this story that we're telling, specifically with the Mexican community, at least from my perspective and Emily's perspective, is the story of what happens when you're born into that world and really not having a choice and feeling like that's sort of the only road that we see and that we were brought into. So that's where we know how to navigate. Beyond that, there's obviously the place of respect and responsibility that comes with it. And I lived in New York for 5 years, and I arrived in LA for this opportunity. And as soon as I arrived, it was really striking to me to walk through the city. And I made it a specific choice to talk to anyone who right away, okay, you're Mexican, you lived in LA in the 80s, let me talk to you. And I would make that an effort to spend hours with them. And I found this how do you say, a person who gets you a haircut, what do you call them?
Barber?
Yeah, my barber. I found, the barber right next to me. Barber,
all the fellas look over like,
he grew up in East LA, and so I went back a lot to get haircuts with him, and we would just talk for hours, and that for me was beautiful because it made me realize that this is really a story about family and how it affected families and how families were destroyed because of this reality and how certain communities were perhaps more damaged by it. Yeah.
Right. Carter, you must have had so much information that you could just Google, research. Were there any infamous stories?
It's all top secret.
Were there any infamous stories that you kind of divulged into when you heard of undercover DEA, CEA agents that were there other shows that you watched like the Narcos Tales or anything like that to kind of get you an in on this?
Yeah, I mean, there's endless library of literature on the history of the CIA and the way that they've been quietly affecting geopolitics for the last 60 years. But aside from that, we also had a writer that was in the writer's room who grew up in a CIA family. Both of her parents were officers, and she didn't find out until she was 15. And I got to have lunch with her when we first started, and she could kind of talk to me about the actually more helpful stuff that was about like what's breakfast like in a CIA household, or like how do you tell your kids about that? And then she gave me this book that her father is a main character in, is sort of famous CIA officer, and she was like, but you got to give it back to me because it was signed by the author to my father. And so I read the book, and then I ended up taking it home to New York. And I thought, hey, I'm gonna put this somewhere where I won't forget to take it back when we go back to shoot the rest of the season. And I hid it from myself in this drawer. And then I found out we got picked up to shoot the season. And my first thought was, fuck, I don't know where I put that book. I tore my house apart for like 3 days, and I wouldn't tell anyone. I told my wife, I was like, I lost her book, the thing she's got left for her dad.
Somebody's not coming to get you.
Yeah, that's what they're upset about. I found the book.
Never really have a show.
Found the book.
I found the book.
Juan, playing a soldier in a very political time, especially there for the 80s, and it's now where you see immigrants fighting for their rights too. You also have a touchy subject to handle, both on the Cuban side, the immigration side. I mean, John just has great timing when it comes to stirring shit up. So how did you tackle that? And again, not want to offend nobody and also come across authentic as well.
Absolutely. All these things really fall into place. The beauty of Snowfall is that the people, we tend to think of the 80s as a time that's really abstract in our past, and a lot of things that happened then reverberate until today. And the more things change, the more things stay the same. What Felipe was talking about, Felipe being Portuguese, I come from a Cuban exile family, a Puerto Rican family. We're all part of the same Latin tree, but there's a real care and respect for Latin performers when we're dealing with characters from all these disparate countries that have their own histories, their own conflicts, and their own relationships with each other. Something that's very close to us. So, no, I'm not Nicaraguan, but my father comes from the Cuban exile community, so there were enough things in the Alejandro character that I could draw on. I understand through the experiences of my father what it means to lose a country, to not recognize the place where you're from, to have it disappear. And now, of course, out of deep respect, what happened in Cuba and Nicaragua are dissimilar, but there were a lot of similarities. And of course, in Alejandro's case, Alejandro comes from a political faction that was incredibly violent in Nicaragua. And so what they did is that they drew a line in the sand, and they determined that they would push past that line because for them, the end justifies the means. And of course, we all live different kinds of lives, but I think even though people, I hope, that are watching the show, the majority of people cannot relate to the extent that this character will go to achieve what he wants politically, they can at least understand that they've been in situations like that. They'll question themselves, what would I really do? What would I really do if I really wanted something that badly, meant something that much to me? And that's where that moral ambiguity comes in. So.
One thing that I did notice when it came to your character, Dancing, is that the hustle for kids in the 80s seems like the same hustle that a lot of young people go through right now. But do you think that the hustle back then was a little harder? And how did you relate to it, the hustle now that a lot of young people go through?
All right, this is a great question because I actually sell cocaine for real.
I knew you did.
I gotta fund that show somehow. And that thing just look cheap to you, right? And the most important thing to me was to kind of stay away from the modern drug dealer, because the thing about cocaine in the 80s in LA, for me, what I read about and what I researched about was they didn't get into the act of selling cocaine to become gangsters. They got into it to provide for their families, to get their mums out of their situations and to live their lives. So that was something I kind of separated with. And then obviously as the show goes on, we'll move more into that modern lifestyle.
John, I wanted to know the strategic reason of why home base was at the swap meet. That's what Mr. Amin told me before, that you guys would meet up at the swap meet, and that would be a home base for you guys, and to go to
Rocsi,
different
don't go telling
locations.
the
I'm
secret.
sorry, it's alright. You can listen to the Little Black Girls podcast and listen to our whole entire story where he divulged all the secrets.
You mean what the production?
Yeah.
I ain't say nothing, y'all. I ain't say nothing.
That was the biggest parking lot near there. We put some pier where it's like, that's where you put all the trucks and the vans and everything, like, you know.
The truth is, y'all, that Roxy wants to take a field trip to the SWAT. That's the truth.
I've
You know,
never
so I
been.
mean,
I've never been. You gonna take me to get some fronts?
you gonna get a hat, stitched
I can't stand stuff.
t-shirt.
You know, I ain't from here, so I'm learning. I want to make sure I get the hood pass, and if I go with anybody, I'm definitely gonna go with you. But how cool was it that the community embraced your cast while they were shooting in certain locations?
It was good. It was beautiful. I love shooting in the neighborhood because, especially when, you know, I mean, on my sets, we don't come in like an occupied, you know, force and everything. It's a, you know, very, very, you know, in and of the community whenever we shoot. I've been doing that for years since I started. So, I mean, it's nice to shoot in the neighborhood and stuff, to come to work and then somebody run down the street and lady make tacos. Say, I made you 2 tacos. So, hey, you want some? And it's here tacos. You get some hot sauce on that? You want some grape?
A lady
And then we
made
sit
me
up-
gumbo.
Yeah, exactly.
And I had never had gumbo before. I was like, what's this stuff?
Like, sit up on the floor.
Everything in this thing right
Sit up
now.
on the floor. My barber lives on the street that we shot Franklin's house at. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's just really, really beautiful. A lot of people have prejudices about shooting certain places in Los Angeles because they don't know anybody in those places. But, you know, even if I don't know somebody in a place, I make liaisons with people and figure out, you know, what's the lay of the land and stuff. And then also, you know, trying to like make the community part and parcel of what we're doing, especially if we want to stay there for many, many years. You know, then, you know, there are people in and around that community that will end up in the show. You know, and I think that's great. I mean, because these people, you know, just like me, they lived it. So we can't go down there and just act like, you know, willy-nilly and everything. And, you know, that helps the experience.
So right now, we're gonna give a moment for anybody that's in the audience that wants to ask a question. You can raise your hand up and don't be shy. And somebody, oh, white t-shirt all the way up in the top. You don't have to come down, baby, so we can hear your question.
Project.
Hey, what's up? My name is Jericho. Just wanted to ask a question for John up here. The balance of the white voice versus the hood voice, and like how the whole world plays around how we can fit, African Americans can fit into any role like a chameleon. That's a very important issue right now in today's culture, society in America, because of police brutality and a number of things. I want to know how deep the show is going to dig into that issue when it comes to, you know, pointing out, revealing a certain part of our culture to people who are not African Americans. Does that make sense?
I don't even deal with that. I just reveal it. I don't even. I mean, you see how black the show is. There's some stuff in there that only black people can really understand. The inside jokes, you know, that people say amongst themselves is dramatized. So we just, there's a thing in storytelling that's called truth in drama. You know what I mean? Like you really just lay it all out, you know, and whatever language, you know, it's going to be told in, whether or not it's the Latino portion, the Latino characters, or even the CIA world, where there's just really like, it's very specific for that world. And there may be some stuff that you may not get in the first viewing that you will see again in the second viewing on reflection and understand it even better. The intricacies that our team goes through in terms of making it very, very specific. So, I mean, that's what really it's about. You know, it's not necessarily just, you know, the whole black thing. It's like really like every world, every minutia, you know, of the show has to have some type of cultural specifics in there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the goal certainly over these seasons is to kind of delve into, you know, it was a very conscious choice to start with South Central before crack landed. And we all kind of know how that ended up, but like, why did it land the way it did? Why was it allowed?
if you want to use that word, to continue. Like, why did it blow up? Why was it so unchecked? Why were the laws against crack cocaine so much more strict than powder cocaine? I mean, I think we're going to get into all that shit because it feels like it needs to be talked about, and it feels like these are things that we're still dealing with today.
Any more questions? Yes.
The shot where Teddy's character walked up the embankment and then he shot from the house and then came out over an aerial view. How was that shot?
It's a drone.
It was.
It was also like really high in the air, so it was terrifying. Personally.
Now, was it a real,
My feet were wet.
I was gonna ask, did you want him to keep the
It
socks on?
was hundreds of feet straight down, so.
Did anybody else catch that? He
Why are your socks
he don't
on?
have his socks
I mean,
on?
black people.
That's a
do
choice,
on-
that's an acting choice, I know it's a great one. I know it's a good one, because Tommy Schlum said to me, he said, that's a great choice.
Own it, guys. Own it.
All right, Mama, go ahead, up there, up top.
We're kind of used to seeing drug kings be ruthless and savage from like Nino Brown to Frank Lucas to Paid in Full. So, and to me, the theme from each character seems like desperation. So, how did you decide to approach this? Like the drug kingpin was desperate as opposed to ruthless and just I want to make money off my money.
Well, he's already a kid. It's not, he's not even thinking about, the consequences. He just, like, it's a means to an end. He's really wanted, it didn't work out for him and looking at possibly going to college elsewhere. He wanted to be in his neighborhood. He wanted to be really around what he was, his comfortability factor. He just really trying to make it. And he's not a pro at this. You'll see as we go on in the season. He really doesn't.
He has no idea.
No idea what he's getting himself into.
And not only that, but he has no idea. Sorry, but cocaine was a rich white guy party drug, right? It was nobody saw what it was going to turn into. Nobody knew what it was going to do to the neighborhood. I don't think he has any clue. Like he's clearly looking to better his circumstance, and look, all these characters kind of are thematically linked by that. But he doesn't have any idea what it's going to, certainly not what it's going to do to him personally, but how it's going to become crack and what crack. Just nobody knew it was coming.
Are we going to see other characters or other infamous people? Like we know in New York, we had the Frank Lucases, we heard of the Rick Rosses that were out there, the Griselda Blancos, who was very infamous during the 80s. Are we going to see kind of like a character adjacent to that play into the series, or like a big wig?
There are already people in the show that you see in this pilot that become Memphis. I'll tell you what they are. Like, they become, it's laid in. But mostly, there's so many people that were in this world, and I'm just saying specifically in the West Coast, that, never became famous, that have interesting stories. I mean, so nothing that we could try to make up will be better than the folks that really live this stuff, I'm just gonna leave it at that. But it's phenomenal because the cool thing is, yes, there's been Miami, yes, there's been the New York story and the drug thing, but this is the first time the West Coast we're really showing what happened here in the West from the transition from cocaine to crack. And that's what I'm really, really proud of, the fact that this is, not only this has been made, but it's been made on this level with this network, that kind of has a history of doing like really edgy stuff, take it to the next level
Oh,
in the world.
we saw he took it to the next level.
Yeah.
That's definitely funny.